everyone, Tina here. I hope your day is going lovely. Thanks so much for joining me for another 5 easy step card tutorial. Today we are making a berrylicious card. We're sweetening it up and it's going to be a thank you card. We're using a stamp set from Simon Hurley. It is called Berry Best. And we're also using the die set the Spellbinders created for the stamp set for Simon Hurley. It's called Berry Best. This is a unique die set because the dies have elements that you don't even need the stamped image to create. You have the tops of the berries, you have the solid berry, and then you even have some chocolate and drizzle that you can just die cut out with cardstock. I thought that was really neat. But mix and matching the stamped images with the outlined images or even the solid images are really easy with this set. And I think this may actually be a bundle, but I'll link it down below. It's pretty neat, and I think it's going to make a really cute thank you card. There's several greetings in here. You are the very best. Thank you. I love you very much. How cute. So this is what we're going to do today, and so let's jump in and get started. First off, we're going to create our berry. We're going to make a berry cluster. You know, I like to create my flower clusters and my berry clusters as my focal point. And today, let's just take that right out. Today we're not going to stamp the outline of the berries. Let me zoom in a little bit better. Sometimes I'm so far away, I'm sorry. But we're not going to do the outline. We're just going to do some die cutting and then stamping the solid image directly on the die cut. I don't want a black border. I want to keep it kind of soft, and I think you can do that with this die set. So let's die cut out all 3 of the berries. I'll probably do a couple more because we're going to be doing some stamping directly on our die cut images, and sometimes if I make a mistake I like to have backup, and if I don't use them I just put them in the package. We have the drizzle. And I'm going to make the vanilla drizzle, so I'll die cut that out 3 times. I'll also cut out a few leaves. I'll make a little room up here. I'm going to die cut out a few leaves, which remind me of grape leaves actually, but they're really big and pretty. And we're also going to take some Spellbinders Timber cardstock, and I'm going to die cut out the chocolate dipped portions with colored cardstock. My die cutting is done. And what we're going to do is stamp using, once again, the solid areas of the stamp set. So I have the leaf first. I'm using my Distress Oxides today. We're using Shabby Shutters. I'm just going to ink this up. And then I'm going to mix several colors of greens. I also have my Forest Moss that I'm going to add a little ink to the edges. Just a little bit. And then I'm going to use my Rustic Wilderness. And we're going to add a different shade of green here. So this is what it looks like. I'm going to flip it over and we're just going to stamp. There is etched detail in here, which is nice, but I want to stamp right over it. And it's very easy to do, very easy to line up. And there we go. That's one leaf. Let's do it again real quickly. I'm just going to ink it up with my Shabby Shutters. We are going to add a little bit of our Rustic Wilderness and a little bit of Forest Moss. Forest Moss is more like an olivey color, but I love those 3 colors on here. And we'll just stamp it again. And that's all there is to our leaves. Put this one back, and now we're going to stamp our berries. We'll start off with this one here, which is this berry. I'm going to use 2 different colors of inks for my berries. I have Worn Lipstick and I have Lumberjack Plaid. We're going to do the same thing. The base of my berry will be Worn Lipstick, and then I'm going to add Lumberjack Plaid just to the edges here. And we will stamp this right here. It's very easy. Since there's a border, it's so easy to stamp. That's all there is to that. And then the leaf, let's see, this berry, now this berry has the leaf portion. I'm bringing back my green inks I'll ink up the leaf portion with my shabby shutters, and then I'm going to use my rustic wilderness just to do a little bit of shading here, and we'll stamp this right on the top. And if you wanted to add the outline, you very well could, but it does make it darker. You know, I think okay, I'm going to continue and stamp these. Now we're going to bring in our drizzle and our chocolate element that we die cut out. I put some glue behind here, and then this layers up along the edge of the die cut. So once we have this adhered, we're going to add a little glue to our drizzle, and that's all there is to that. Again, you don't need stamped images. So if you're not good at lining up your stamps, or don't want to stamp, or don't have inks, use the die set, because you would die cut out this with colored cardstock, red or pink, and then you have the stems on top here. You would die cut out this with green, and this would layer directly on the top. And then you can add the drizzle and the chocolate with just colored cardstock. I thought that was so neat. Makes it, your die is very versatile. Love it. Okay, let's go ahead and finish off adding our chocolate drizzle. And I've never seen a die set like that, and I thought that was really neat, that you could do stamping or die cutting with it. Now, I mentioned we're going to make a cluster, so I'm bringing in some cardstock. You could go through your scraps, but I'm just going to trim down a small strip. I'm bringing in some foam squares. Now I put foam tape behind all of my elements here. And let's start off by adding a leaf here. And I'm going to add another leaf over here. These are going to be at the very bottom. Okay, and then we could stack our berries over our greenery. And there we go. That's all there is to my focal image. Let's move along to step number 2 and create our home panel. My home panel, we're bringing in the Eyelet Scallop border die. I just love this die. We're going to bring in a piece of white cardstock, and I'm going to create a border with this piece, maybe about 1 inch up from the bottom. And then with this piece, I'm going to bring in some cardstock, probably a longer. Let's trim out a longer piece. Okay. And then I will cut this out. I'm trimming out a longer piece because this way I can position it with no guesswork. I will be right back. We're going to make a landscape style card today. So there's that border. Isn't it gorgeous? You can kind of see there's a thin line here. And what I'm going to do is just add a little bead of glue down that line. And then I'm going to tack that down on this piece here. I don't think we need to glue the entire thing down. And then anything overhanging, I'm going to trim away. And then when I cut this out, this is the A2 panel. Okay, so this is 4 1/4 inches long. Now what we're going to do is take some pattern paper. I wanted some pink pattern paper. Go through your paper stash and find maybe a red or pink plaid. I really like this piece here, this plaid. It has the same colors of pinks as my lumberjack plaid and my worn lipstick. Thought it'd look, and I think gingham goes really good with berries. I'm going to bring in my paper trimmer, and I'm going to trim down a really thin strip. So we have both colors in here, and then I'm going to put this over the border. So I'll add another thin bead of glue down the middle of that scallop edge, and we're going to add some pretty pattern paper here. That's all there is to my home panel. We'll put this to the side. Now we're going to move along to step number 3 and create our greeting. Let's bring back our stamp set. we're going to make a thank you very much. I'm going to stamp thank you on some white cardstock, and then I will trim this out. And then I'm going to add very much to my background. So let's do a little stamping. I'm using my Memento ink because it will dry really fast, and I can just trim this out. Wonderful. Use my paper trimmer and we'll just trim this. And then I will finish off the rest of my greeting because I do want to stamp very much. Let's actually put this on acrylic block. I'm going to stamp this on my background. Speaking of background, we're going to move along to step number 4 and create our background. We're going to be doing ink blending directly on our card base. I have a standard size card base that is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inches. So 5 1/2 inches. And you know what, as I say that, I think I told you the measurement of this was 4 1/4. Scratch that, it's 5 1/2, okay? It's going to be the length of our card base. Let's do a little ink blending using those green inks. We're going to add ink on the bottom section here. So I'm going to use my home panel as a guide. We're going to line it up here. And I'm actually going to use a pencil. Let's mark it here. I want to scoot it up just a little bit, and I'm going to mark it here and here. Okay. Let's add some shabby shutters. Fading down. I like the white at the very bottom. So all I'm going to do is add some light ink. And then I do want some darker ink with my Rustic Wilderness right above it. The top part can be really messy because it's going to be covered, but I do want to add some darker ink, kind of fading the two. So now you can see both of the colors. I'm going to layer this right over the top just to make sure I can see both layers, and you can, and I love that. Now we're going to take our focal image, and I'm going to arrange it how I want it down here over the lacy border. And I know I want my I'm thinking I want to put my thank you here. Okay, I mentioned we're going to stamp the second part of our greeting, which is very much. I'm going to stamp it right below in that green area. So I'll bring back my Memento ink. Stamp that right in that green area. Lovely. And then I can go ahead and take some glue and we'll add our focal image. Now before we move along to step number 5, which means it's time to embellish, I'm going to do a little bit more stamping. There's a little heart in our stamp set, and I'm going to bring up a little bit more red up here and maybe one little red heart down here. So let's stamp, well, maybe we'll just do red. Let's stamp with our lumberjack plaid a couple of little hearts here. We'll add a little love there. Okay, now let's move along to step number 5, which means it's time to embellish. I'm going to bring in my Glaze and glue, and I'm going to go over those little hearts. And I'm also going to use my Glaze and glue and go over the drizzle. Give that a little bit of shine and dimension. I'm using my Hero Arts Icicle glitter, and I'm going to add a little bit of glitter over the drizzle area. If it gets on the hearts, that's okay too. Let's go ahead and tap this off. Lovely. Just funnel that back, and that's all there is to that. This would make a great little Valentine too. This is one of those card designs that if you want to switch out the strawberries for blueberries, or if you switch out the strawberries for lemons, I think it would look just as pretty. Just use the coordinating colors. So of course blueberries, you'd put blue down here. Lemons, you would put yellow down here. So it's kind of a versatile card design. But if you want to check out that stamp set today, it's designed again by Simon Hurley, called Berry Best, and Spellbinders made the coordinating die set to go with it. I'll link it down below in the description area. Have a wonderful day. Thanks so much for joining me. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye. Thanks so much for sticking with me to the end. I have 2 more videos that you guys might be interested here. If you guys are new and like the content that you see, click that subscribe button and also the notification bell. That way for future videos, be notified. Also, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. It sure does help the channel. Have a wonderful day. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.